पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ अयम् आत्मा सर्वेषां भूतानां madhu. This is the sentence we are looking at. For all beings, sarvesham bhutanam, that which is beloved, that which is sweet, is nothing but the I as described by the Upanishads. This is what one really wants, and this is what one craves for. And that is why the word madhu is used. Honey. And honey, of course, before sugar became famous, the honey was what was in style. It has come back now because everybody knows that sugar gives a lot of problems, health problems, etc. And so, honey. And we have to also see that in the ancient times the honey was harvested ecologically without hurting the bees, and that is how it also became the food of the rishis. A very nutritious food because it has a lot of minerals and people can actually survive on it. And so this honey here is metaphoric. It symbolizes that sweet and satisfying taste, a very sweet taste, a very satisfying taste of honey that lingers in the mouth. And of all the 6 tastes, the sweet taste is something which stands out for everyone because it is very dearly loved. And so this is why it is called honey knowledge, because the honey symbolizes that sweetness that one yearns for in one's life. That is what one wants. Happiness, sweetness, and that sweetness is what one craves. And here is a very interesting thing, because that sweetness that one craves for and one looks for in every object, ironically belongs not to the object but to oneself, the subject. In India, we have the metaphor of the musk deer. Musk is a kind of a perfume that is extracted from the navel fuzz of this particular deer called the musk deer. And it's a very, very strong perfume. And what does the deer do? The deer, can sense its perfume, but it thinks it is coming from elsewhere and goes mad, running in one direction after another, looking for that sweet perfume which is so maddeningly near and so disappointingly far away. So the musk deer, in its madness, in its mad pursuit of itself really, symbolizes the human being known as the jiva, this individual. Leading saints such as Kabir in the tradition to compose some very interesting lyrics, couplets. Lehri dhoonde leher ko, kapda dhoonde सूत, जीव ढूंढे ब्रह्म को, तीनों ऊत के ऊत. There are 3 kinds of deluded deluded things in the universe, says the Saint Kabir. The first deluded one is the wave that is looking for the ocean. Lahari is wave. The wave that looks for the ocean and searches for the ocean is such a foolish wave. because it is the ocean, verily. It is never far from the ocean. In fact, the wave is included in the ocean, if you want to take a qualified dualist approach. But we will go so far as to say the wave is but the ocean, nothing but the ocean. So, lehri dhoonde leher ko. And then the fabric is searching for its source, the yarn. And it is going crazy. Did you see yarn? Did you see yarn? It's asking everywhere, and nobody is able to guide it. And this is also a very foolish activity. Then the last one is the jiva, the individual. Jeev dhoonde brahma ko. The jiva searching for Brahman, its own source. Brahman here is Bhagavan, Ishvara. Jiva searching for the Lord, the goddess, is yet one more example of a very foolish quest, because that quest is basically nullified when you understand that you are the source. And that is why the first line of this, the mantra that we are studying, cuts to the chase. Doesn't the Upanishad, the beauty of the Upanishad is that it doesn't go round and round. The Upanishad is a lady of few words. That's all, just a few words. Why? Because it is meant for people who are prepared emotionally, mentally to receive this knowledge, and therefore, less is more. You say a few things and then the people understand. So therefore there is no going round and round. Straight away the Upanishad in the Madhuvidya section, which is the second chapter, 5:14 onwards. So, I am Atma, this I is the sweetness in all beings. What is first, in the last session we saw what this I is being referred to. It is not the I that is identified with a particular body-mind complex. It is not the I that says, my name is so and so, my form is such and such. It is not an I that is identified with a particular nama and rupa, nama rupa. It is not an I that is identified with the mental states of rajas, tamas, etc. It is not an I that is identified with various emotional states, sorrow, fear, anger, etc. It is not an I that is identified with the sense organs, lame, or organs of action, lame, blind, deaf, mute, etc. It is not an I that is identified from the standpoint of one's possessions. Like, I am a home owner, I am a owner of this car. And in America, everything is made into, made into this ER, home owner. And all this. It is not an I that is identified with its possessions. And it is not an I that is identified as an actor, karta, doer. It is also not an I that is identified as the recipient of actions, either one or that of oneself or others. It is, in other words, the I, to put it in Sanskrit, is not a bhokta, not a consumer of the results of action. Neither actor nor the result of action, neither doer, in other words, nor done in by one's actions. Neither subject to guilt nor subject to hurt. What is guilt? Guilt is the omission and commissions of oneself. And the Taittiriya Upanishad describes it very beautifully. Kimaham sadhu na karavam, kimaham papamakaravamiti. iti. Why did I do the wrong thing? Why didn't I do the right thing? See, translated for you with swaras, Vedic swaras, okay? That's the best way. So this is what is the lament of the jiva. Jiva as guilty. I am a guilty individual, meaning I cannot handle my own omissions and commissions. I'm being dogged by them. Okay, if that's not the case, then what else is happening? I am hurt by the omissions and commissions of others. Why didn't they do this? Why did they do this? Why didn't they wish me on my birthday? Very big omission. They are so close to me. How could they forget my birthday? In a way, it's good they forgot. Why? Because what would they have said? Many happy returns. As a, as a student of yoga and Vedanta, you don't want people to tell you many happy returns. You don't want to come back. That's why it's good they forgot. Doesn't matter. You grow as a result of their omission. So, but that's usually not the case. Other people's omissions and commissions make one totally miserable. And if one is already not miserable with one's own omissions and commissions. So, therefore, what? Therefore, this is all not the I. Not the karta, not the bhokta, not the one who is subject to guilt, not the one who is subject to what is the other one? Hurt. Also, not the one who has preferences, strong preferences and prejudices. That is not the I that we are talking about. And yet, I already told you earlier in the earlier satsang that there is only one I, one and one alone. But it is not any of these, not the karta, not the bhokta, and also it is not the I that identifies as the knower, pramata, knower. I know this. I know Sanskrit. I know the Upanishads. I know how to do this. I know how to cook. I know how to do yoga. All this. This is the I with reference to certain bodies of knowledge obtaining as the and identifying as the knower. We are not talking of any of these identifications. It is also not the I that feels abandoned, that feels targeted, that feels that it has been chosen in a wrong way to reap some bad karma more than anyone else inordinately. And so this is also not the I that is we are talking about, the one from the standpoint of the results of action or the actor. These are all statuses that the I as though assumes without really doing so. Like even the actor in a play. The actor in a play assumes the role of a begging person. A person who is completely dispossessed and doesn't have anything other than the begging bowl. And the actor has to cry and enact how miserable he is in this particular scenario. And the actor does that without recourse to glycerin or without recourse to any kind of natural saline solution, nothing. The actor is able to squeeze out a few tears and say, life has been so miserable to me. Help me. Give me this. Give me at least one square meal. I'm afraid I will just give up my life if you don't feed me. Help. And even as he is saying these words and crying the tears, somewhere inside he is feeling happy. Why? Because he thinks, maybe I'll get an Oscar for this. An Oscar nomination may be coming my way. Look at this. Look at my expressions. OMG, I think I'm really excelling it. There is an inner space. And then again, he knows at the end of the day he can throw away all the tattered clothing that they have given him on the set, and all the scruff marks and all. He can just go home somewhere in Beverly Hills where all the celebrities live, and then he can go and be there, and then he can have a nice, he can sit in his garden, in his yard, and have a nice something cold to drink and enjoy the weather. Because, really speaking, he is not a beggar. He is not a beggar. But then, who is the beggar? Actor is not beggar. But then who is the beggar? Well, the actor lends his presence to the persona of the beggar. In fact, the beggar is non-separate from the actor. The body of the beggar is the body of the actor. The mind of the beggar is the mind of the actor. And then the cry of the beggar is the voice of the actor. In fact, the whole beggar is nothing but the actor. Like even the whole pot is nothing but clay. But we cannot make the mistake of saying it the other way round. What is the other way round? The beggar is actor, B is A, but actor is not beggar. A is not B. Very, very interesting. So the I, because otherwise there will be, if we don't understand this, there will be some kind of a dissociation. Because the teaching moves in both ways. First, na iti, na iti, na iti, na iti. You are not this, not this, not this, not this. And when the not this is understood fully, then the teaching says, you are nityaha, sarvagataha. You are eternal, you are immortal, you are all pervasive, you are all knowing, you are this Brahman. That is both those, the teaching, there are nisheda vakyas, the sentences of negation of what you are not, because what one is not preponderates what one is. That is why it has to be removed. The wrong notions have to be removed. And then the correct notions are already understood, because like the wave looking for the ocean, the wave is the ocean. Similarly, the truth of the self is never away from the self. All we need is to point to, the teacher just points to that which is already understood. That is how the teaching operates. Very, very nice, very, very wonderful. But we have to understand this part, that this one-way street is, it goes one way. Beggar is actor, actor is not beggar. Pot is nothing but clay is not pot. So this Atma as like the actor, A for actor, A for Atma. This I, Atma means I. This Atma assumes many, many roles right from birth. In fact, some of the roles you haven't even chosen. You are born and already there are so many claimants. One person says, she is my child. Another person says, he is my grandson. Another person says, this baby is my niece, my nephew. Another person says, this is my sibling. Can't wait for this one to grow up so we can have lots of fights. And each one one is born into a whole web of relationships. And the country where one is born, that also claims this baby as the citizen of such and such country. One is born into relationships, not of one's making at all. At all. And so now what? But as a result of this birth, in the condition which is called Atma Ajnanam, self-ignorance, not knowing the I, as a result of not knowing the I takes on all the roles as real. That's why gets entangled in them, gets enmeshed in them. And the reason for this is very, very obvious and very simple. The simple reason is I do not know who I am, and therefore it is very easy for myself to identify with everything that I can objectify. So I take myself to be what I am not. I am not a mortal, yet that is the main problem with the human being. They don't want to die because they are convinced they are subject to death. The body is subject to death, yes, but not the I. And then, so this is, I am a mortal. These are all wrong, these are all the sad results of the wrong identification. This one is separate from me, that one doesn't like me. And then I want this one to do me some good, good favors, but this one does not do anything for me. The Jagat is inimical to me. Jagat means universe. The world is inimical to me. Even God is inimical to me. This is the confusion. It is called the mix-up of the I with what we call not I. Body, anatma, not I. Senses, anatma, not I. Doer, anatma, not I. Recipient of the results of action, anatma, not I. Not I, not I, not I. When the not I preponderates and gets entangled with the I, and is convinced that the I is this much alone, this much tall, this much weight, this much brains, this much whatever, this much money, which is never enough. No time, no money, no this, no that. One identifies mostly from a sense of lack centered on the self. And even if one enters a spiritual quest, there also naturally one is not satisfied, and one gets concerned looking around. Oh, this one seems to be understanding everything. I am not understanding anything. This one seems to be smarter. That one can chant in Sanskrit. The other one is very good at seva. So one compares oneself most of the time unfavorably. This wrong identification is called samsara, and this is what needs to be removed completely, and that is what the first sentence of the Madhuvidya is trying to do. I am Atma. First of all, the word I am means right here, that is available right now. Nitya aparoksha Atma, that which is ever available, as we saw in the last session, in all three periods of time, in all spaces, etc. The ever available I is indeed the sweetness that one seeks in all things, in all beings. So this Atma is like the honey which is in all beings. And what are these beings? These beings are like recipes that call for honey. And then without the honey, the recipe is insipid. You can't even put it in your mouth. But with the honey, the items come to life. That is what this Atma, this I is. Without this, if the I were to withdraw itself from inhabiting the entire universe of names and forms, the names and forms would be like mere shells, lifeless, unanimated, boring. And so therefore, whatever you love, wherever you love it, whether it's a thing, a person, a place, whatever it is, an object, a notion, an ideology, What you really love is the Atma. Oh, but that's me. Exactly. That is the you. That is the Satchidananda Atma that is unfolded by the Shastra. That is what you love. And this particular sentence or the mantra starts off this way because we are coming off the heels of the Yajnavalkya Maitreyi dialogue, which is going to be the next session, I think, sometime in September. And so the Yajnavalkya Maitreyi dialogue immediately precedes this, where sage Yajnavalkya, instructing his wife Maitreyi, says a very important truth about the self. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Everything becomes lovable, everybody becomes lovable for the sake of the pleased self. What does that mean? The self is already pleased. That is the whole idea. The self is already pleased, is already satisfied, is already contented, is already whole. Not knowing that, I look for that sweetness, I look for that pleasure in everything. And he expounds on this and makes this very clear. Nava are patyuhu kamaya patif priyo bhavati atmanastu kamaya patif priyo bhavati nava are jayayai kamaya jaya priya bhavati atmanastu kamaya jaya priya bhavati. Nava are putrasya kamaya putram priyam bhavati atmanastu kamaya putram priyam bhavati. Like this he goes on listing all, like that song, these are a few of my favorite things. So listing everybody's favorite things. First husband, then wife, then child, then one's lands, cattle, all the things. A list of one's favorite things he lists, and he says, not indeed my beloved Maitreyi. A husband is loved for his own sake. You think you may be loving me, Yajnavalkya says to his wife, for who I am. No, you are loving me for your own sake, for your own pleasure, for your own security, for your own comfort. And being a fair man, he puts it the other way around also. The husband does not love the wife for her own sake. He loves the wife for his own security, his own comfort, his own companionship. And so you see, this is the section that is preceding just before this Madhuvidya. So therefore, it is kind of going, so it is a spin-off of that Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Atmanastu kamaya means for the sake of the self alone, everything becomes dear. So what I want is that dear self, is that beloved self. And not knowing where to find it, there is a powerful throwing, a vikshepa, a projection on to people, places, things, situations, events, notions, etc., thinking that that is what I love. And that is so therefore what? In all the beings that I love, it is myself alone. It is this Atma as Sat. Sat means what? Sat is that which exists, and we saw that in the earlier satsang. Are you here? My famous question. You have to say yes. You cannot look around and consult the significant other to ask whether you are here. Yes, I am here. Yes, I am. It spontaneously comes out. Yes, I am. And then the next question, how do you know you are here? Oh, what a silly, stupid question. I am here. I know. I know I am. Means what? It means that this existence, that is a sentient, aware existence. It is aware of itself. It is aware of the entire world of objects. Everything becomes evident to it. It alone is self-evident. This is the beauty of this. Sat Chit we have. Sat, I am. Chit, I know I am. And how long do you know you are? How long you know you are here? Are you here now? Let's see. Okay, that now has gone. Are you here now? Yes. Now? Yes. Now? Yes. We can be here all the time and keep on asking this question. Now? 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 And then a corollary to this question is, are you sad now? What is the answer? No, I don't think I'm sad now. Now? No. Now? No. Now? No. If somebody were to say yes, just for fun, what would happen? Then I would say, that was then, this is now. That was then. Because even if you say, I had a very difficult childhood, and the primary caregivers were actually caregivers, and they were terrible, and I had a very challenging childhood. When are you lamenting that childhood? Now. The now that is free of that childhood, free enough to recall that childhood because it is not entangled or enmeshed in that childhood. It is separate from that childhood. It is witnessing that childhood when? Now. If you have anxiety about the future, oh, do I have enough money to retire? When are you anxious? Right now. Right now. And so that now alone is. And what is the length of time called now? The length of time called now is actually timeless. Ananta. And that Ananta, in the definition of Brahman in the Taittiriya Upanishad as Satyam, which is the same as Sat, Jnanam, which is the same as Chit, that aware full existence, Anantam, which is the same as that limitless which we are trying to illustrate right now. Satyam Jnanam Anantam has been quietly converted into Satchit, not Ananta, Ananda. Limitless joy. A joy that is unbridled by any kind of limitations, time, place, manner, etc. And so that joy here is called Madhu. Why? Because everybody loves things that are sweet. And this Madhu that you are looking for is, you don't have to look for it elsewhere. It is sourced in you alone. You are the endless, complete, full source of this Madhu. And anything that is sweet in any being is just an extension of you alone. You means not, not the one endowed with a body, mind, sense complex. Adi Shankara explains this in the commentary. But the one that is Sarvatma, the I that abides in all bodies as it were without becoming that body, the I that visits all minds without becoming the mind or the senses. This is what has to be known for getting redemption from samsara. More we will see in the next session. Thank you. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you.